So I've thrown around this word regulation. Let's kind of go through this. What is regulation? What is dysregulation? These are two terms that I want you to use in your everyday life, in your classrooms, in your building, in your conversations. So let's define them. Regulation, simply by definition, is the ability to experience and maintain stress within one's window of tolerance, generally referred to as being calm, focused, or relaxed. This term is utilized by literally every scientific discipline. So right now, hopefully you all are regulated. I see water bottles, I see coffee, I see some granola bars. You are sitting hopefully in a pretty comfortable chair, and so you're regulated. Now, if I were to ask you to stay here for 5 hours straight, you would be very dysregulated. So what is dysregulation? The experience of stress outside of one's window of tolerance, generally referred to as being stressed out or in a state of distress. It is believed that affect dysregulation is a fundamental mechanism involved in all psychiatric disorders. Now, that is a quote from Dr. Alan Shore. If you are interested in this material that I'm going through and want more in-depth, check out Dr. Alan Shore. He's really been able to take the work of John Bowlby, which is all about attachment, and move it into the scientific realm of understanding how the brain reacts. So he's just got some great content. But what he's saying here basically is this, is that if you have a student who has a mental health diagnosis or an educational diagnosis or both, which is typically the case, then you probably have a student who is chronically dysregulated. And so when we look at this from not the mental health standpoint, but just from an everyday working with our students, we have to say, if that student is being non-compliant or disrespectful or bad behavior, whatever it is, can we now just say, you know what, this is a student who is dysregulated. This is a student who simply can't get back to a place of balance. And again, let's go back and look at our Andys and our Billies. So even though you're dealing with a timeline down here, I'm going to come back here because, again, developmentally, this has such an impact. When you have an Andy, and Andy is right here at 3 months old, and Andy is crying, what does the parent do with Andy? Picks Andy up and soothes Andy. Now, the parent has this nice attunement, and the parent knows, oh, that's a cry for rocking, or that's a cry for a diaper change, or that's a cry for food. And so the parent right there, through the context of relationship, helps that baby calm down. It's not just about the feeding. It's not just about the rocking. It's that baby goes through this high state of stress, and then through the relationship, the child calms down. So you have a child that's dysregulated, a little baby dysregulated, parent calms them down. That child then goes into a state of what? Regulation. Again, for you all that have raised children, in one day, if you have an infant, how many times do you go from high dysregulation down to regulation? It happens multiple times a day. So what's happening is you're building this blueprint for this baby to know, oh, I can get stressed out, but then I can come back down. And ultimately, as that child moves down this developmental timeline, you have children then that learn to do it on their own. And so we have kids then like Andy that walk in the classrooms and they have a good sense of how to self-regulate. These are the kids then that can learn to take a deep breath. They can think clearly in their mind. They can think, oh, I'm okay. I'll just get home and talk to mom or dad about that. I'll be all right. So they have a skill set to be able to go through their day through states of dysregulation, but be able to calm their own selves down through regulation. Now, Billy, let's go back to Billy. Billy's 3 months in the crib, and Billy is crying and crying and crying. And who comes? No one. Or the person comes, and they pick up that baby, and they're angry, and they're stressed out, and they can't calm the baby down. You cannot calm babies down if you are dysregulated. I actually divert on the story here. I was given a parent lecture at one point, and it actually was a combination of home and school. And this foster mom came up to me afterwards, and she goes, I just realized after you said this, she goes, I have this baby that's in foster care, and I noticed the other day I was really upset, and I was rocking, and she wouldn't calm down. And then this morning, I rocked her, and she calmed right down because I was calm. She was starting to correlate when the parent is upset, they don't know how to calm. The baby's not going to calm down. Now, you all can relate to this. How many of you all have been in the middle of Walmart and you see a family there, and the family is super tired and stressed out. It's late at night. They probably haven't eaten. The parent has this long list. One kid gets super upset and doing stuff and just reacting, being dramatic, and the parent goes, calm down, calm down, calm down right now. Now, you all don't do that. There's a delay on that response. But do you see how ridiculous that is? You can't yell at someone to calm down, but it's kind of, again, it's not that obvious, but it's a little more subtle. So if you have a parent who is stressed out, then you have children that don't learn how to regulate. Now let's transfer this back to where it actually fits into your life. You have then a child that is dysregulated in the classroom. You actually are trying to calm them down, and they just can't calm down. They don't have the body memory to be able to do that. And again, this is why middle school through high school, maybe even younger, we have kids that are what? Smoking pot, doing drugs, alcohol, video games, sex. All these things are external ways to try to calm down my internal system. You have students who are chronically dysregulated. So these are two terms that I want you to really use when you're referring to when a student has bad behavior. Say, wow, Billy was really dysregulated today. And I want you to use it in your classroom. So maybe you walk in on Monday morning and you've been stressed out, and maybe you just walk in your class and you say, hey, class, I'm a little dysregulated today. That's very authentic. And then you start helping kids to recognize when they are dysregulated. You want to really empower a student? Use these words, because it gets away from the words that are so judgmental. Because Billy already knows he's, quote, the bad kid. But if Billy can start to understand, wow, I'm just really dysregulated. What I need to figure out how to do is how to get regulated.